This is my last slam here for a while before I go to college, and I'll come back probably in January when I have a break. But last slam for a while, and this is a poem that I wrote for the last slam. And most of my poems are angry, and this one isn't. So enjoy that. Home is not a place without mountains. I was born in their shadow. I grew up believing they were a barricade. I was baptized in their wildflowers before I could speak, and I spoke before I could walk. My Grammy's maiden name is Bear. It comes from the green hills of Erie and the highlands of Alba. Bear, son of the bard, the warrior poets of the Celts. Poetry is in my blood. When I was young, the mountains seemed infinite. They were reliable, always in the west, and it was home. 18 years I've lived in the shadow of the mountains. Now I know they are not infinite. They only split the horizon. I have walked their woods, climbed their stones, weathered their storms, and it was home. To the east, the sky was everything. All blue and red and gold above the plains. Out east is where my grandparents live. Granddad was born in Fort Collins, and Grammy in Lamar. This town is in my blood, but that is not the whole story. My dad was born and raised in one city like me. Instead of mountains, he had skyscrapers. The Empire State Building was his Mount Evans, and eastward, the sea stretched like plains. He was uppity from a young age, calling on politicians to fulfill their oaths to the public. Activism is in my blood. Dad went wandering out west, where the mountains stand and the sky is forever. Mom traveled to the west too, to the Golden State, where sequoias make the skyline. After they met in Big Bear, they kept in touch. Dad went west again after college, and they began traveling when they were finally free, across the states, and spent months in Central America. I went on trips too across the states. Wanderlust is in my blood. Mom was born in Hawaii, and Dad New York, but they both ended up here, in the shadow of the mountains. Now I too must make the jump, and hope to catch some wind and fly. Where I am going, the mountains do not split the horizon, and they're in the north. But their shadow makes me feel at home. Where I am going, the pines fill the landscape. Happy trees that take me back to my youth. Where I am going is not home. It is a terrifying drive to the familiarity of mountain shadows. So much of the land in between is red desert. It is far from home, and my first time there, I almost thought I had made a mistake. But slowly the land rose, the mountains appeared in the north, and the trees grew. But it was not home. My granddaddy worked for the Park Service. He traveled the country. At one time, he and his family, including my mother, lived in Grand Canyon National Park. They are able to make home wherever they go. My Grammy took pottery at Northern Arizona University. She walked the same campus as I. But it is not home. Not yet. Home is mountains and plains forever. Home is the cooler, is the bikes. Home is the hidden charm of wonders downtown. Home is where I know the streets by look and feel rather than name. Home is where my grandparents were born. Home is where I grew up. No more. Poetry is in my blood. This town is in my blood. Activism is in my blood. Wanderlust is in my blood. And I will bleed. I will bruise. I will fall before I fly. Home is mountains and plains. Home is Fort Collins, Colorado. But that is not the whole story. This here is my first home, but I will make home wherever I go. Born in the shadow of the mountains, but born with another name. Born with a body that challenged the gender binary. What can I say? Activism is in my blood. But birth is not everything. I grew up. I discovered that we change over time. Now my body has been alive with what is safely male. But my soul defies the gender binary. I have used my own voice to give myself a name. I have discovered that who I am is clear as hell. It's troubled. I choose between hiding behind aloofness or showing raw power. I have not yet learned how to refine it. I have not yet learned how to fly. But we change over time. My first poem was a story about night and day and the music that keeps them dancing. My second poem was ages later in middle school. Poems I still have memorized. Now my poetry has an edge to it. I have refined it. And poetry is in my blood. This town is and always will be my first home. You, all of you, will always be my second family. Flagstaff will be my second home, and the poets there will be my third family. For 2 years now, I've spoken my words here, under warm lights, and in too warm a room from all the bodies packed together, a close-knit family. I've only twice gotten past the second round. For 2 years, I have spoken the words of others. Competing on the school team, I have met so many people in those 2 years. My first date, had too many crushes, enough friends, and no enemies. In 2 years, I have touched hearts, and they in turn have touched mine. Jason Clark, my friend and coach, said that I chose to speak my passions and raise hell rather than pick winning poems. JD, another friend and coach, said that I had a skill for finding my meaning in the words of others. Sierra Kubi, a friend and assistant coach, was the first one who urged me to share my words. Some have given me sympathy and told me that I'm not alone in my struggles, and I'm grateful for your support. But the greatest words I have ever received because of my poetry have been those who have told me I gave them a reason to keep going, have been those who told me that I gave them the courage to live as themselves, told me that I inspired them. I write poetry to make sense of the world and to examine my truths. I speak poetry because it is in my blood and to share those truths. To inspire others is my greatest reward. I was born in the shadow of the mountains with poetry in my blood. I was born with the expectation that I would be fucked up if I survived at all. I am not perfect, but I have changed over time. I was born. I am growing. I will make home wherever I go. I will never stop speaking my truth, so this isn't the last you've heard of me. Endings are not so bad, but they are hard. Some endings come too soon. Some are not kind, and some endings are bad. But the endings that are hardest aren't really endings, they are rebirths, a continuation of the cycle. This is not the end. This is not my only home, my only family, but you have not yet heard the end of me. Hear me in the songs the wind carries so it won't be lonely. Hear me in the back of your head, trying to inspire. See me in the cool shadows of the streets of icy water, guarding. But do not hold on to me, for I must learn how to fly on my own.